Alright, so I ran that outlet upstairs for the garbage disposal unit. This is our breaker box. Anytime you're going to open up a breaker box, be mindful. There's a lot of power going through these things. In our case, it's a 100 amp service right there. Okay. But we need to put a breaker right there. We're going to have it listed over here. Now, that's our breaker right there. Okay. And gotta put one of those in, okay? Hold the wire in. Now, further disclaimer, in some jurisdictions you're going to need a licensed electrician to do that. Here I don't, because I'm not changing the setup. So I don't necessarily need a licensed electrician to do it, but I do need it to follow the same code and be up to the same standard as a licensed electrician. So be mindful of that. You're going to use a square head to take this out. This particular model is made by GE. Whatever your model is, as soon as you take off this panel, you're going to expose this S-shaped metal plate in the inside behind those breakers. That is live. Okay? As long as that electrical power is live, it's live. However, because I'm going to be working in here and I don't like working in a live box, I have another box right over here to my right that supplies power to this box. Okay, this is a sub box, not a main. So I'm going to be shutting off all the power to this box right there from my main breaker box. That way, it's all dead. There's no power going to it, and the risk of electrocuting myself is minimal. Actually, it's pretty much non-existent because there's no power going to the whole box. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, there's no power going to these. Most breaker boxes are pretty much the same setup. You're going to have these screws holding your plate in and your door. Looks like I need to put a couple staples on this wire, get it up out of the way too. I'll go ahead and do that when I wire in this other wire. Go ahead and staple them both in with a wider staple. Same time. Less staples, a little clean, make it a nice clean look too, and functional. These screws are fit to size, so you don't want to lose them. Keep track of them. Yeah, you can get replacements, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. So just like I was saying with the outlet upstairs, just like there's preparation down here when dealing with this, and you want to exercise caution and safety, you don't want to end your life prematurely by doing something stupid like working in a live breaker box. Alright? Same thing's true in your life. You don't want it to end prematurely. You want to be successful in life. At least you should. I know I do. Okay? So, be mindful of what you're doing. Now, the first thing we got to do is we're going to map this out. Our wire is still hooked up to our block, so I've got it stapled. You can see it hanging here. So I'm just going to guess, estimate where I'm going to route this thing. I know I'm going to route it above this cable. This is for the internet at the house. I'm not sure why they wired it that particular way. It's definitely in the way and not very neat and clean, but not everyone takes pride in their work. I recommend taking pride in work. So we're going to run it right about right there. We're going to bring it down. Let's come over. Okay. Give us plenty of extra kind of pull some more out of that coil. And we'll go ahead and give it a little bit more just to make sure that we've got enough. There we go. Now one thing I like to do is all these twists in here don't make for a very clean look. And it also makes it kind of unwieldy to work with, so I like to straighten that out. And you just pull it straight so it's not curved. That way you can fish it anywhere you want. So the first thing we're going to do is go over that cable right there. Now I might reroute that cable since it went ahead and pulled out anyway. Well, that's the first thing we want to do. We're not going to staple this in completely until we're all done hooking it up and we know exactly where it's going to go. So we're going to come there. Okay. Bring it down. Bring it right there with the rest of them. And since we need to staple this one anyway, we'll curve it around with this one. Bring it over here. That will work. Okay, so give us a little bit of slack there just so we have plenty of room to staple. Bring it down, bring it around. Now we got to decide which side we're going to put it in and wire it. So we can punch out these little punch outs on the side, but we don't want to punch out too many of them, only the ones we're using. So I'm thinking I can put it right there on that one. Bring it right through that one right there. Put my breaker right here. Plus I'm going to need to bring that down, over, and over for my ground wire, because my ground bus is on this side, my neutral bus is on this side, and then obviously my live is in the middle. So let's cut it right there. Just so we, there, know where we're putting it. Now these plates, they punch out pretty easy. Also, when doing this, assume that little S-shaped fin is still live, and exercise caution. It's just a good idea, even though I know that there's no power going to it, because I shut off the breaker in the main box. Still assume it's live. Now these little clips hold the wire in, and they have a little ring. So just like in this breaker box, there's no life, there's no power, there's no electricity going to it when the breaker's shut off. If you are shut off from the source of life, you're not going to have real life. You might be able to have a good time for a season, you might be able to party, you might be able to do those things, but you're not going to have a very fulfilling life because you're cut off from the source of life. Now we're gonna pull that in, and since our ground bus is way over here, we're gonna feed it down here, around, and back up and over, so the wire is out of our way. So before we clamp that down, let's get us some wire in here, right about right there. So let's bring it in just a little bit more. Expose our wires, get that Romex coating off. Now, let's tighten down our clamp so it's not moving on us. Now the other thing is you want to use the right clamp here. Because if you use too big of a clamp, it's not going to hold it in place. Use too small of a clamp, it's going to pinch and cause it to short it. So make sure you're using the right one. Now, make sure it's tight too so it doesn't move on you. So first thing is, I have a method of doing this. First thing I like to do is hook up my nute to my ground wire. So we're going to move those out of our way. Take our ground wire, fish it back behind everything. Again, treat the box like it's shut, like it's still got power. Be mindful of where you're running this thing. This is all bare wire, okay? Bring it up. Now it's behind everything, and we can put it right in there. Helps if I use the right size square bit on these. Take that, loosen it up just enough to get our neutral or ground in it, tighten her down. Make sure that's pushed out of our way. Loosen up our white, our neutral, do it next. And it doesn't have to go very far, so we're going to cut it and feed it in. You only want to expose on the neutral and your hot, your black, is just enough to secure it. Everything else should stay coated. The only one that doesn't is the ground. Loosen that up a little bit more, it looks like. Right there. Now on these neutral buses and your ground bus, it's one wire per screw. Just like your breaker, it's one wire going into that breaker. Make sure your breaker's in the off position. Okay. Looks like GE likes to switch up the size square bits they use. Loosen it up. Gauge our wire. There. I know some people, they'll put the breaker in first, make sure it's in the opposition, and then feed it in. I don't like to do that. I like to take my wire, hook it up to my breaker without even coming close to that. So I do it out here, way out here. Slide it in. it down, give it a little tug, see if it comes out. It came out. I had it in the wrong spot. Loosen it back up. Make sure we get it in the right spot this time. This also ensures that you don't have any shorting going on when you do that. Okay. So that's it right there. Now, these have a one-way clip. You only go in one direction, so you're going to line it up. Again, make sure your breaker's off and your box is off. And push it until it clips. It should be right in line with the rest of them. This one is. Now, clean up our wire a little bit. Good to go. Now what we want to do, before we turn anything on, secure our wire, get our cover back on it. So let's do that now. Alright, so as you can see in that time lapse, we secured our wire over here. We put this back in. We only took out one of these pins to account for our new breaker. I already have power going back to this box from my main, but I still have this breaker shut off. So if all goes well, it should turn on. We should get power going to the outlet and not have any issues. Now we're good. I just heard the click upstairs from the GFI circuit, which is a safety feature. When you first put power to those, they will automatically trip as a safety and test. So that's great. With that, includes another tutorial type video covering our kitchen remodel. We still have two more circuits to put in this box for our kitchen. One is for our washer and dryer, and the other is for our refrigerator. So the washer and dryer has to be a GFCI, I think is the new abbreviation, but it's ground fault interceptor, and so does the refrigerator because they're near water. However, the washing machine would typically be a 20 amp single pole service, and the dryer would be a 50 amp double pull or double pole 220 service if we were going electric. We're not, we're going natural gas for our dryers, so we can put them on the same circuit with a single 20 amp 110 service, which is so nice. It cleans up our breaker box, leaves a lot more room in there. And then also, it's more efficient. Natural gas dryers tend to last longer and run more efficiently than electric counterparts. The downside is they do cost a little more up front, by about $200 for the same model. But for us, because we only have a 100 amp service coming into the house, this is the easiest way for us to do it without upgrading our entire electrical grid. So it's well worth it for us. But that's how to put in a new breaker in a breaker box. No matter what brand you have, the process is pretty similar. Just remember, if you're going to do this yourself, shut the power off. Okay? Don't electrocute yourself. Don't become a crispy critter. Alright? Exercise some caution, patience, and be aware of your surroundings. When in doubt, definitely call a professional. And nothing in this video should ever be construed as professional advice. I'm not a licensed electrician. I'm just a homeowner renovating my kitchen and mudroom. So hopefully you'll learn something from me, mistakes and all, and also get some enjoyment, entertainment out of it. I'm Timothy Holt with Holt Growers here in Western Pennsylvania. May God richly bless you.